Yesterday, we talked about what is arguably Apple's biggest announcement for Monday's keynote, which is the new iMac, the new 24-inch iMac. Today, I want to address some of the other, not quite as major, but still very important announcement and releases that they have and whether they apply to me and what my current thoughts are on them. Hopping right in, the first thing that I'm going to address is the AirTags. This has been such a funny thing because literally everyone's been speculating and assuming these have been coming out for the last several years. They've supposedly been postponed 1,001 times. I couldn't tell you why. It's literally such a simple thing. It's almost hilarious to me that it took them so long to come out with it. But with that being said, it's out. And it's basically the equivalent of like your Find Me tiles or the other current titles that other companies already have for finding objects. This one does have a couple spins on that concept. In general, it's using the classic Apple tech with the Find My iPhone app and other things like that in order to be able to more specifically understand where your object that is lost with the AirTag, where it's located. I personally love this. I lose stuff all the time. So I currently have a tile in my wallet. And it's been a huge help to me because I lose it all the time. I can pop it up on my phone and I can ring it, it'll alarm, and I can go around looking. Now, if it's not within sight or sound, it usually has a bit of a hard time, which is where I struggled that it's not that capable. These AirTags can lead you directly to the item with pointed arrows and tell you exactly how far you are from it, which is game changing for me. Now that I have my iPhone SE and a MacBook, it's just going to work into my new ecosystem a lot better. And I'm really looking forward to that. Also, it's worth mentioning that $30, really not bad for what Apple could have done. They're definitely known for overpricing products, and I was nervous they were going to do that here. But a 4-pack for $99, I'm fine with that. That seems perfectly reasonable, and I might dive into that $99 pack just because I have lots of stuff that I love to lose. The next thing that was important to me is the new Apple 4K TV. I don't know how new the actual 4K TV is. I can't really say because I didn't watch the whole keynote, but I know that the main difference is the new remote that they've designed, and this does matter to me. I've been wanting to get a new Apple TV. I've been actually very enthusiastic about doing that, but the honest one thing that's been holding me back has been the Apple remote. And I know that seems really silly, right? But the original Apple remote was very cumbersome, very small. You could lose it virtually anywhere and had absolutely no control functions except for, go left, go right. And that was basically it. It was very obnoxious. The new Apple remote was definitely a lot more functional and a lot more useful, but I absolutely hated the touch trackpad. I swear, every time I wanted to swipe right, I would think I was swiping down. And it just isn't convenient to me. I didn't like the functionality of it, but I also like that it added things like volume and that it added Siri buttons. So this new remote, it combines the best of both worlds plus some, and I'm excited about that, right? So you're gonna have the same touch pad, but on the outside, it's gonna have an actual click ring, which is a relief to me personally because I just want those buttons back. In addition, you do get power buttons that are added to it and volume and the Siri button on the side. So that arguably, you're not needing to use your TV focused remote nearly as much. It can all be on the Apple remote. I like that a lot. So now that we've gotten those two topics out of the way, we can get to the thing that I've been a little bit anxious to address, which is the new iPad. But just to give you the rundown, the new iPad made a very interesting decision of putting the new M1 chip into the iPad. It's so interesting that they're putting the same M1 chip in a desktop as they are in an iPad. Personally, I think it's a pretty substantial amount of overkill. I mean, an iPad's an iPad, right? At the end of the day, it can only do so much, not because of processing power, but because of functionality. It's running iOS. But all of this, honestly, at the end of the day, is just dust in the wind for me. It's all a big distraction, and it's just kind of a red herring for what the big question is in my head. Who is the iPad for? Why does this exist anymore? Now, it's not to indicate that it shouldn't exist, right? But it's in a very curious position in 2021, and I feel like not enough people are talking about this. The main demographic of people that I see with an iPad are usually people whose eyes are not good enough to comfortably rest on a smaller iPhone. So it's usually middle-aged to older people who will have that on their laps. If we're putting M1 processors and all this new specs into an iPad, at the end of the day, it's an iPad. It runs iOS, so it's limited to the apps it can actually function. Now, as desperately as Apple has really tried to push this concept of the iPad replacing your computer, we're not dumb. We know you can't do that because it doesn't run macOS. It doesn't run Windows, right? It doesn't run any desktop software. It is literally running the exact same thing that your phone is. on a bigger screen, which is cause for frustration to me because Apple is standing in a really stubborn place planted in the ground where they say, you know what, we're not going to give you touch screens on a MacBook or on an iMac. You don't get it. You get a little touch bar because we offer iPads. And they say, here's an iPad. It has tons of processing power. It's amazing, but joke's on you because it just has iOS on it. You can't really function things like Photoshop and Premiere Pro and Final Cut. And the thing is, they could. They have the processing power. They have the M1 chip now in this iPad. You know, they have everything that they need to, including these new keyboards that come with it that make it a full-fledged desktop. They just can't full send it because they refuse to move off of the same stupid iPad OS that they've been using for the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and it just gets so old. I know I personally would never have a use for it, you know, with the exception of artists who like to use it with Procreate and the Apple Pencil. I think that can be very useful. That's like one very specific demographic of people, you know, note takers and artists, of which I happen to be neither of. And I know it's a weird thing to talk about because everyone's like, it's an iPad, you know, of course it exists, but I think it's been a long time since we've stopped ourselves and asked, why is this around? And if it's going to be, why doesn't Apple make more use of itself by doing something better with the software on it? Overall, though, that is my thoughts for today. Apple's first keynote for 2021. It was a lot to unpack. We are now on like day 1.5 million of making a video every single day until we reach 1,000 subscribers. It means that one day I won't have to chug out 6 hours worth of video making in a single day where I already work a full job and a part-time job. But I love doing this. Honestly, it's for you guys, and I really appreciate you for tuning in. I can't wait to talk to you guys tomorrow and see what we have to discuss then. But until then, I'll see you later. Later, guys. And, there's a purple iPhone.